Welcome, or welcome back, as I seem to say in all of these videos now. So today I want to talk a bit about missions and running missions with Arducopter, but missions with a difference, because what I want to do is run high-speed missions using one of my race quads, and the ideal one is my beta quad here, because I don't really mind if it crashes, it'll survive. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I've been a little bit inhibited because out of the field I use my trusty MacBook Air 2011, and what I've tended to run on that is APM Planner, and APM Planner is bit rotting, so there have been only old versions available and they don't support well newer versions of Arducopter. But in the last couple of weeks I've worked out how to build APM Planner, and the latest versions in Master actually contain a lot of fixes for the latest version of Arducopter. So I've been able to build APM Planner, install it on my Mac, and it's enough to be able to create missions. Not quite enough to be able to read them, but it is enough to be able to create them, which is all I need. So I'm going to sort of work backwards from what I did in the field and then show you how that looks in the logs and in Mission Planner. So got a little video to start with, a couple of little videos actually. So let's start with this guy. Well, it's a beautiful day, even though we're nearly in November, so I'm making the most of the weather. And I'm experimenting a bit with auto missions, but on a racer quad. So what I'm trying to do is see how far I can push the quad in auto before things start to fall apart. And all of this is controlled by the WP commands. I mean, there's some other stuff as well. So I have angle max set to 75 degrees, so that in stabilized mode, for instance, you can go really quite quick. But even with that, the auto missions are pretty leisurely to start with, and so what I've been doing is bumping up the vertical acceleration, the vertical speed, the horizontal acceleration, the horizontal speed, and very importantly the horizontal jerk as well. So the default horizontal jerk means that it's always trying to be very smooth. The copter's trying to be smooth in its operation, and this stops it reaching very fast values, at least on the little mission that I'm doing at the moment. So I'm going to take a video with where I've got to. So I think this is now set to, I want to say horizontal acceleration of 20 meters a second, horizontal jerk of 10 meters per second. Unit slightly wrong there. And horizontal speed of, I think, 30 meters a second. So I'll do a video and show you how this works. Okay, and I had a couple of goes, well, I had about 4 goes at this, but this was the latest one, and this will show full screen now, so you should be able to see it all. Okay, going to try this one more time because I'm not sure I caught the copter all the way, so let's see if I can do a bit better this time.
Motors armed.
Okay, so that was my experience in the field. It was pretty cool. So how did I get here? So first of all, I had to upload a mission, and let me just show you the mission I used. I think this should be it here. Okay, so you can see Mission Planner here. And although I uploaded this using APM Planner, the mission is on the copter, and so I can read it again. And so basically I did a mission first of all to take off to 20 meters, and I've made a mistake before where it's sometimes what you end up doing is you say, okay, my first waypoint in the mission is this one, say the first place you want to get to, and I've set that as point number 1. And what happens is that the copter then takes off and is ascending at the same time. And I think what happened to me in the past was it kind of I was in some corn in a field, and so it crashed into the corn as it was ascending. So when I create a mission, I tend to have a takeoff step which rises to a particular altitude, and you can see this is relative altitude 20 meters, before I then do the other points in the mission. So I've got a takeoff step. I'm going to play around with this a little bit to get something a bit more smooth, but that's for safety. That was what I did. And then you can see that I fly to waypoint just again at altitude 20 meters, fly waypoint 2, 3, 4, and 5 is back home, and then land. You can see that the interesting thing is the mission is straight lines with acute angles, but the copter won't tend to fly like that, and of course with S-curves we hope it'll fly a lot nicer than that. But yeah, so that's the mission I had. Very simple mission. So I was sitting here at the takeoff point, and then obviously I flew the mission, and this is what it looked like when I flew it. So let's go to the log. So I downloaded the log of the mission. Okay, so here is the log of the mission. And you can see, interestingly, so you can see S-curves working here. So the copter is, it flies and curves around before it gets to the next one. You can see on the sharper one, it flies a little bit more sharp, but there's still, you get these nice curves here, especially as, you know, in this kind of, you can see this waypoint number 4, I guess it is, because it's going quite rapidly at that point, and it's sort of only deviating from its course so much that the curve is a lot smoother. And then at the land point it stops very abruptly. And so what we can do, let me have a look here. So I've got the log here, and what I'm going to do, I'll just shrink the picture a little bit so that we can have a look at the log. So you can see the throttle here. So I've got the throttle mapped here, and you can see auto is this blue bar along the top, and then I switch to stabilize at the end. I don't know what happened here. The throttle went to 0 in the middle. That seems a little bit strange. I don't know. Yeah, I find that a little bit strange, so I don't know what's going on there. But it made it round the curve. And then I think the interesting thing is, so what I was looking at was the EKF. So let's see, you've got innovation in down position. So this is the Z position. And you can see here that I get this big spike in the position. And it's been sort of okay up until that point. And I'm guessing this is when it breaks. So let me see if I can graph this. So if we have a look at the altitude, oh, interesting. So yeah, so I think this is when it breaks. So you can see the altitude drops off from this point, and the altitude appears to go up, and I think that's probably due to vibration when it's braking. So it breaks, the throttle goes to 0, and then the EKF innovations go a bit ballistic, which is somewhat expected. But on the flip side, if I look at the vibrations, so we've got the vibrations here, and we get there's this peak in vibrations here, but these are not, okay, 15, it's not super high, and actually there's no vibrations at all here when it breaks. So we've got some vibrations there. So I wonder whether something else is going on. Maybe the GPS is a bit upset. I suppose that's a possibility. But I'll have to. There's some queries in my mind about this log, about what's going on, which is good. I mean, on the radio receiver, I was getting things. I was getting errors describing things like vibration failsafe, EKF variance, that sort of thing, which all kind of look right according to sort of the EKF state. But I'm just a little bit confused. I mean, we're not pushing the throttle massively high here. And also, I'm not really sure about why the sort of low, relatively low vibrations should lead to such a big discrepancy. So I'm going to sort of investigate that a little bit more. So thumbs up for S-curves, I think, in this. EKF needs some work, but in general, it worked pretty well. I'm pretty pleased about that. So let's have a look how I configured this. So I'm gonna bring up my other thing here and turn off this one. Okay, so these are the parameters from the log, so you can see these. And so so there are a few interesting parameters here. So first is angle max. So this is the maximum lean angle in all flight modes, and actually the default is relative. So that's in centi-degrees, so this is 75 degrees, so the copter can kind of lean at this angle, so which is kind of what a racing copter will do. So pretty hard lean. And if I fly it in stabilize, it goes pretty rapidly because of this lean angle. But the default is a lot lower than this. I can't remember what it is, 30 degrees or something. It's not much. So I needed to bump up angle max to get a good lean angle. And then I also did quite a lot with the waypoint control. So oh, that's not in there. Here we go. Okay, WP nav, sorry. Okay, so these are all bumped up quite significantly from the default. So you can see that for going up and down, I've well, for acceleration, let's start at the bottom. So the main one here is WP nav speed. So this is the maximum speed that is allowed when navigating a waypoint. And so I've set this to 3000, which is 30 meters a second. So I'm well outside the allowed range here, but that's fine. And the default is something very sedentary. I can't remember what it is, maybe 500 or something. Similarly, to get to that speed, you have to accelerate, and so I've massively bumped up the acceleration to 20 meters per second. Again, this is way outside the default. And then interestingly, so there's so acceleration is the derivative of speed, or velocity. But then there's also this thing which is the derivative of acceleration, which is called jerk, which relates to how kind of smooth the, if I relate it that way, is sort of how smooth the acceleration is, or it's the rate of change of acceleration, say. And actually the default jerk is 1 meter per second, and that actually, for these short waypoints, doesn't allow you to accelerate out of the gate or decelerate that fast. So I've set this to 10 meters per second. This is a derivative of acceleration, and that enabled these very fast waypoint transitions, and also the very hard braking when I reached home again. So that was moving around in the vertical domain, in the horizontal domain. And then in the vertical domain also, I set speed up and speed down to 10 meters a second for ascending and descending, and then the acceleration 10 meters per second. And this allows fairly rapid takeoff and landing. You could see when the copter took off, it kind of shot fairly fast into the air. Obviously, the higher you push these, the more vibration you're going to get, the more the EKF is probably going to get upset. But for me, these work pretty well. The copter didn't fly away. That was always a possibility, and I was pretty happy with the result. So I'm going to continue these experiments, but this was sort of my first foray into running fast auto missions, and I think it came out pretty well. So thanks again for watching, and tune in again next time. Thank you.